Bit rainy out there today, so I don't think we'll go riding. We're just going to have a look at this new frame that I've got. It's Labyrinth Agile. It's a new French brand that Windwave are bringing into the country. I think the frame retails for 1,300 quid at the moment, but I'll have to check that. It's an all-mountain frame. It's 150 shock. You can run a 140, 150 or 160 fork on the front. Obviously that's going to change your head angle a little bit. I've got the trusty Marzocchi Bomber 55 RC3 tie fork that I've been running on several different bikes for about a year and a half. Haven't touched it. Absolutely no reliability issues with it. It's really been perfect. I love the fork. Works really good. You know, it's got all the Marzocchi characteristics. It's quite an active fork. You know, it goes up and down. It's not just a solid thing, which I like. So you get good adjustability for low and high speed compression damping, as well as your rebound. It's a tie coil fork. You know, it's quite supple on the small bump stuff, but generally as you're riding along, it sits into the travel and then takes big impacts really well. So I like that a lot. And it seems to work nicely with this Rocco shock from Marzocchi. I haven't ridden with one of these before, and it's taken me a couple of rides to get it set up. You've really got to get the right air pressure in to get it to work properly. And then it's quite an active shock, so a bit like the fork. You know, if you just sit on it in a showroom, it'll feel like it's just going to bounce up and down all the time, but when you actually ride the bike and set it up properly, it sits in the travel, gives really good small bump feel and climbing grip. But then when you pump into a corner, or if you land a drop, or you know, as you're going through a series of rocks, you know, it ramps up really nicely and feels like you just held in the travel rather than blowing through it, or you know, being bounced up and down. So I'm pretty impressed with that so far. Angles, if you've got, like me, a 160 fork, you're going to have a 66.5 degree head angle, 71.5 degree seat angle. I'm running this frame 1x10. So I've got XT cranks on at the moment, but I've managed to bend one of the crank arms in a bit of a crash actually in Spain. Slightly bent the crank arm, so that's going to be coming off today. And just got today. Here we are. Gravity light crank set. So that'll be going on in its place. It looks pretty neat. It's got steel pedal thread insert, which is good for me. The XT doesn't have that, and I have over the years managed to, with flat pedals anyway, mess up the threads through impacts in XT cranks. So I'm going to give these ones a try. Really happy with the 1x10 setup though. This is all XT rear mech and shifters. They're really light, you know, light action, really precise. So definitely going to be sticking with that. I've stuck Gore fully sealed cables on, so I shouldn't have to touch those for a long time. I've got these wheels on that I actually built myself about 3 years ago with Hope Pro 2 hubs and Synchros DS28 rims, and they've been very solid, even though I built them. And you know, never had to re-true them or anything. The rims are a more heavyweight, make a more heavyweight wheel, and I'd quite like to get something a little bit lighter. So that's something that I'm going to look to do. Got my trusty Rubber Queen 2.2 black chili on the back. Spot on, all round trail tyre. Really great for, you know, hard pack. You can't beat it for trail centres. It's good in loose conditions, in dry conditions, in kind of moderate wet conditions, but I've swapped the one I had on the front for 2.3 Baron, also by Continental, also black chili, because I've been doing a bit of riding in the kind of natural muddy trails of Hebden Bridge, so that gives you that nice little bit of extra grip in the mud while still staying fast rolling. So if you're wanting to get into more technical ground and really slithery rocks and, you know, more downhill kind of riding, then I would want a more softer compound on, so I'd probably put on some of the Dare Barons, which are a downhill tyre, which will give even more grip. Other things we've got hiding away on here, there's an X-Fusion high-low adjustable seat post. This is a cable affair. That's the lever just there, so that works remote from the bars, and that's taken me a little while to get it set up, get the air pressures right. Seems to be working pretty good now that I've spent a bit of time fiddling with it, and I'm getting it to work nicely, so I'm going to give that a long-term test. I don't think you can do an adjustable seat post test after just riding it for a few weeks, and I've only been riding it for a few days, so I'm going to give that a few months and give it a proper test. Gravity Light 777 bars. I'd measured them and they were 780 wide, which is massive, and was actually a little bit too wide for me. They were great on just when you're going really fast in generally, you know, straight lines or curvy corners, but when it got a bit tighter and slower, I couldn't really turn. Plus there was a couple of bridges I couldn't get over because of the handrails, and some trees at Gisborne Forest that I couldn't physically get through, so I've taken just 5mm off each end, and it's actually made quite a bit of difference. So I'm going to keep them like that for a little while and see if I need to cut any more off, but at the moment I'm feeling pretty happy with them.